Despite a modest budget, first-time creators, and a cast of mostly unknown actors, this film became one of the best and most provocative teen comedies of its time. It shaped generations of teenagers and launched a long-running franchise that grossed over $1 billion. Movies Inside Out presents American Pie is a 1999 comedy about a group of teenagers determined to lose their virginity before graduating high school. What term did the movie introduce to modern pop culture? Why did McDonald's refuse to collaborate with the creators? How did the iconic pie scene come about? And why did it cause problems for young fans? We'll answer these questions and more in this video. Let's dive in. The creation story. The story of American Pie began in the mid-1990s when screenwriter Adam Hertz started considering the revival of the teen comedy genre, which had been wildly popular in the 1980s. He was dissatisfied with the direction modern youth films were taking and decided to breathe new life into the genre. Hertz's main goal was to create a comedy that would speak to teenagers in their own language. So he envisioned a film with at least an R rating, allowing for fairly explicit content. At that time, however, Hertz was working as a television assistant, leaving him with little energy to fully focus on writing a screenplay. After several unsuccessful attempts, he decided to quit his main job and dedicate himself to creative work. His funds quickly began to run out, and Hertz managed to write only 30 pages without fully settling on a central theme.
It's not a space shuttle launch, it's sex.
When he presented his work to agents, they remarked that while the beginning of the script showed promise, the text as a whole was complete nonsense. Despite harsh criticism, Adam did not give up. He focused on the story of several teenagers who decided to lose their virginity at any cost before finishing school, after which the work became much easier. Inspired by major hits of the subgenre, such as Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Porky's, and Bachelor Party, Hertz completed the script in just 3 weeks, drawing from his own experiences as a student at East Grand Rapids High School in Michigan. Adam Hertz then sent the revised 113-page manuscript to all the major Hollywood studios, presenting it as a yet untitled teen comedy that can be made for less than $10 million and that many will hate, but you're going to love it.
I think this is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Indeed, producers immediately recognized the script's potential and began competing for the rights to make the film. Ultimately, Universal Pictures won out, paying Hertz $650,000 for the script in 1998. The producers offered the director's chair to newcomers Chris and Paul Weitz. The brothers admitted they were surprised by the studio's decision, as they had never directed a single shot before and had only worked on the script for the animated film Ants. For unknown reasons, only Paul Weitz was credited in the film, even though both brothers worked on it together. By the time they started the project, the Weitz brothers were long past their teenage years. Chris was 29 and Paul was 33. They decided to focus on finding actors who could bring personal experience, fresh emotions, and authentic teenage sensibilities to the story. Casting. The Weitz brothers aimed to find relatively unknown young actors who could instantly win over audiences, and agree to work for modest paychecks, of course. Universal Studios suggested promising actors like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, known for the sitcom Home Improvement, and Kate Hudson, who was just starting her film career. However, both turned down the roles in the project. Selma Blair, who had risen to fame with her role in Cruel Intentions, was offered any female role of her choosing but declined, stating she no longer wanted to star in teen films. Interestingly, she later expressed regret over her decision. The Weitz brothers then expanded their search, looking not only at relatively well-known actors, but also at complete newcomers. One such discovery was Sean William Scott, who at the time worked as a consultant at a hardware store. The 21-year-old had spent years auditioning for dramatic roles and had no interest in comedies. Moreover, he thought he looked too old to play a teenager. Nonetheless, luck struck when Scott immediately impressed the creators and landed the role of Steve Stiefler.
Get some balls. Man, if you don't have the guts to photograph a naked chick in your house, how the hell are you ever gonna sleep with one?
To craft the character, Scott drew inspiration from schoolmates he had despised, borrowing their most obnoxious traits. Stiefler's sultry mother, who captivated high school seniors, was played by actress and stand-up comedian Jennifer Coolidge, known for her memorable supporting roles.
Mr. Finch, are you trying to seduce me?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
The role of James Jim Levinstein went to Jason Biggs, who had been acting in theater and television since childhood. While Jim is portrayed as Jewish, Biggs is actually of Italian descent, though he once joked that he indeed had a Jewish personality.
And I'm not gonna stand around here busting my balls over something that, quite frankly, isn't that damn important.
Another television actor, Thomas Ian Nicholas, played Kevin Myers, despite initially rejecting the role. After reading the script's opening page, which featured a bedroom scene with Vicky, he thought it was a script for an adult film. Furious with his agent for sending him such material, Nicholas decided to finish reading it anyway, and soon realized he wanted to be part of the project.
I was being selfish and majorly insensitive. I'm a total idiot. I mean, a buffoon.
I think shithead really says it.
Notably, Kevin's older brother is played in a cameo by Casey Affleck. Chris Klein, then 19, was cast as Chris Oz Ostreicher. American Pie marked his second film role after the comedy election. Klein, who had a background in singing and was also a high school athlete, felt a strong connection to Oz and was thrilled to join the cast.
God, you're gay. Oh, come on, sing it with me. You know the words. No, thanks, man.
Paul Finch was played by Eddie K. Thomas.
Thank you for letting us have this wonderful party.
As if there was an alternative in the matter.
While Chuck Shermanator Sherman was portrayed by Chris Owen. Both actors had minor prior experience in film and television.
It was just my time. It was just my time. Best of luck to you boys.
Allison Hannigan, who was a mainstay on the popular supernatural series Buffy the Vampire Slayer, landed the role of Michelle in an unusual way. During her audition, she suddenly needed to use the restroom. Just as she stepped out, her name was called, forcing her to return quickly. Nervous and flustered, Hannigan delivered her lines with an erratic, hyperactive energy that impressed the casting team. Initially, she had been offered the role of Heather, but after reading the script, she asked to play Michelle instead.
So the end of the story is you had to kiss the guy for 20 seconds.
Yes! And he was such a dork. And everyone laughed at me.
The role of Heather ultimately went to Mena Suvari, who had appeared in small roles in Nowhere and Kiss the Girls.
Thank you, baby. How sweet it is to be loved by you.
Natasha Lyonne, who played Jessica, had appeared in Woody Allen's musical Everyone Says I Love You.
What you need to do is learn how to press a girl's buttons. You have to give her what she's never had.
What's that?
Let me give you a hint.
Tara Reid, cast as Vicky, was best known at the time for her role in the Coen brothers' cult classic, The Big Lebowski.
Maybe it's time we start to express ourselves in new ways.
Shannon Elizabeth, who portrayed Nadia, had previously worked as a model and appeared in a few low-budget films. Upon learning she was cast, Elizabeth jumped for joy and accidentally sprained her ankle.
I have ballet practice. Perhaps, I could come by your house afterwards? I could change clothes at your place.
The role of Jim's father, Noah Levinstein, was initially offered to Bill Murray, but after he declined, it went to Canadian actor and comedian Eugene Levy. Originally, the character was written as a stereotypical, rosy-cheeked American dad who bragged about his sexual exploits. However, Levy disliked that interpretation and insisted on playing Noah as a neurotic, overprotective father. The director supported his choice, and even allowed Levy to improvise most of his lines.
I want you to be very, very careful when you're putting on the corsage.
Interestingly, during the casting process, when the film was still titled East Great Falls High, Levy was simultaneously shooting an independent movie called American Pie. That film's creators were forced to rename it, eventually releasing it as The Secret Life of Girls. The filming process. Filming for American Pie began on July 21st and wrapped up on September 11, 1998. Although the story is set in Michigan, the movie was shot in Long Beach, California, which was transformed into the fictional town of East Great Falls. Indoor school scenes were filmed at Long Beach Polytechnic High School, while the exterior shots used the building of Robert A. Millikan High School. Both schools are near Los Cerritos, a neighborhood that also hosted the filming of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and later Donnie Darko. All home interiors were constructed on a warehouse set with no air conditioning. The actors suffered through the heat as temperatures on set soared to 98 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. The film didn't get its final title right away. Initially called Grand Rapids High School, it was later renamed East Great Falls High, then simply Great Falls during production. Only a few months before its premiere, the studio decided on the more eye-catching title, American Pie. According to Adam Hertz, the name not only references the infamous self-gratification scene, but also symbolizes the character's very American desire to lose their virginity during high school, something as American as apple pie. While a small budget usually limits creative freedom, the opposite happened with American Pie. Universal wasn't worried about potential losses and gave the directors creative latitude. In turn, the directors encouraged the cast to improvise. For instance, Michelle's line,
Let's go.
What's my name? Say my name, bitch!
Michelle.
during the bedroom scene with Jim was ad-libbed by Allison Hannigan on set. Another memorable line.
Wait, is this translation right? Go home, bird teacher, I've had enough.
Delivered by Jessica during a Spanish study session with Vicky, came from Paul Weitz's own school days and was added during filming. During the production process, some characters' names were also changed. For instance, Paul originally had the last name French instead of Finch, and Stiefler was called Ryan instead of Steve.
Seen Shipwreck lately? Why? What did you do to him? Me? Nothing.
Interestingly, the pie itself wasn't in the original script. Adam Hertz initially wrote a line for Jim describing the feeling of a bench as like a warm apple pie, but wasn't sure what to compare it to. During the first script reading, Chris Klein improvised the iconic gesture along with the line.
Like warm apple pie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Apple pie, huh?
Which resonated with the creators and inspired the infamous pie storyline. Filming the now iconic pie scene proved nerve-wracking for Jason Biggs. On the day of the shoot, he panicked and called his manager, exclaiming, "I'm about to destroy my career before it even starts." His manager calmed him down and Biggs pushed through. The scene took around 6 hours to film from various angles. And not a single pie was harmed, probably.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Eugene Levy wasn't on set during the pie scene. His reaction was filmed separately, where he had to act surprised while looking at a placeholder marker instead of Biggs. The pie used in the movie wasn't from McDonald's, as initially planned. When the fast food giant learned of its intended use, it declined to participate. The pie ultimately came from Costco, and a foam replica was used for Jim's more intimate moments. Biggs overcame his initial hesitation thanks to this scene, making subsequent awkward moments, like his striptease in front of Nadia and the entire class, easier to handle. He found that the more ridiculous his character's behavior, the more fun it was to play. However, filming wasn't without physical challenges for Biggs. During a scene where Jim rushes home to catch Nadia, he suffered from heat stroke and had to finish the day with ice packs under his shirt before being taken to the hospital. Another mishap occurred when he accidentally overdosed on medication and missed a golf scene with Finch and Kevin. Biggs's stunt double was also dismissed after showing up with a visible stomach scar, leaving the actor to perform the intimate scenes himself. To depict Jim's arousal in the opening scene, the crew used a freshly cooked sausage wrapped in foil and skewered on a pencil. Biggs was allowed to choose between medium and large sausages. He chose the larger one, and later ate it after filming. Stiefler's infamous milkshake was a mix of beer and raw eggs. Meanwhile, Sherman's urination scene was achieved using a hidden tube in his pants that dispensed water. Chris Klein and Sean William Scott trained for 3 weeks to play lacrosse, but weren't proficient enough for the final scenes, which required doubles. Conversely, Mina Suvari performed all her singing parts herself. Shannon Elizabeth practiced a Slavic accent for her role as Nadia, but was asked to tone it down last minute. For her bedroom scene, the set was cleared of all but the director and cameraman to help her feel more comfortable. The film set an unconventional record. 26-year-old John Cho, who chanted MILF in one scene, became the oldest actor portraying a teenager. Meanwhile, 24-year-olds Allison Hannigan and Shannon Elizabeth were the oldest actresses in similar roles. Eddie K. Thomas, at 17, was the youngest and thus couldn't film an intimate scene with Stiefler's mom, keeping that moment off screen. Michelle's signature line,
One time at band camp?
What's your name?
It'll be like this one time at band camp. You know, at band camp, we have dances like this. This one time at band camp, I stuck a flute in my pussy.
is said 8 times throughout the movie. In 2019, Hannigan revealed that fans still approach her and quote the line. The American Pie soundtrack featured mostly pre-existing songs. For example, the scene where Stiefler's mom seduces Finch is accompanied by Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate. Finch's rush to the bathroom is set to Walk, Don't Run by the Ventures. Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds at Prom. Nods to The Breakfast Club, while Mutt by Blink-182 plays during Nadia's scene. Blink-182 even makes a brief cameo during this moment. Movie mistakes and errors. American Pie isn't just a cult comedy, it's also a treasure trove of movie mistakes. Let's take a look at some of the funniest inconsistencies that made the film even more entertaining. Ready to start counting? Jim's late night adventures. Jim watches an adult movie in terrible TV quality, despite having a computer and internet access. Supposedly, this scene takes place at night, but daylight is clearly streaming through the blinds. Looks like Jim got so caught up he didn't notice the sunrise. The moving glass. One of the guys holding a photo of Stiefler's mom switches a glass from his left hand to his right, but after a camera cut, it's back in his left hand. Silent keyboard. We hear Jim typing on the keyboard, but no letters appear on the screen. Maybe he's practicing for future dexterous feats? Jumping magazine. When Jim's dad hands him the third magazine, he holds it at the top. In the next shot, his hand is suddenly on the bottom. That magazine sure knew it was the scene's star. Mom's grammar mistake. The note Jim's mom leaves him has a typo. It says, "your favorite" instead of "your favorite." Looks like she was so focused on her favorite son, she overlooked the error. Palms in Michigan. During the lacrosse game, you can see Mexican fan palms in the background, common in Southern California, but nowhere near Michigan. Apparently, the climate made a special adjustment for this scene. Oz's magical shirts. Oz talks to Heather wearing a white shirt, then switches to a blue one in the library, only to show up at choir rehearsal back in white. Looks like he's got a built-in wardrobe change mode. a camera with its own mind. When Jim sets up the camera, it's pointed straight at the bed. Seconds later, the angle changes, even though nobody moves it. Guess the camera decided it knew better what to film. Eternal stream. The live stream timer never moves and always shows 19 minutes and 26 seconds. Mysterious audio. When Nadia is undressing, the guys comment as if they're in Jim's room watching live, but another camera angle reveals they're not. Yet, their voices are still heard. Disappearing jar. When Nadia peeks into Jim's drawer, the jar of Vaseline vanishes between cuts. Guess it sensed trouble and bolted. Psychic shirt. When Nadia asks Jim to undress, a gray shirt is already on the desk, even though it hasn't fallen from the camera yet. That shirt seems to predict the future. Selective hearing. Kevin and Finch can't hear what Jim and Nadia are saying, but can somehow hear the music on the radio perfectly. Billiard ball shenanigans. The pool balls on the table shift positions as Finch chats with Stiefler's mom. Her hairstyle also magically changes between shots. Looks like the props team decided to add a little chaos. Teleporting camera. When Jim talks to Nadia on video chat, he moves the camera to the left. But when he starts dancing, the camera has disappeared, even though it should still be there to capture him. Credits error. In the end credits, Scott Rayner is listed as Blink-182's drummer, even though he didn't appear in the film and had already left the band. Travis Barker was the actual drummer in the scene. These amusing bloopers add another layer of fun to American Pie. Which ones did you find the funniest? Or did you notice others we missed? Share your thoughts in the comments. Deleted scenes and bloopers. Initially, American Pie was given the strictest rating by the Motion Picture Association, NC-17, which prohibits viewers under 17 and prevents wide theatrical release. The filmmakers had to edit several scenes, including the opening with the adult movie, the infamous pie scene, the milkshake incident, the Bible moments, and the live stream from Jim's bedroom, all of which were originally much more explicit. After multiple revisions, the film finally received the desired R rating. The original versions of these scenes were included in a special uncensored DVD edition, but have not been publicly released online. However, less provocative moments that were cut or replaced with alternative versions can still be found online. The production of American Pie was just as fun as the final film itself, as evident from a fantastic compilation of dozens of bloopers and hilarious on-set moments.
I feel so much better.
This one time at band camp, there was this horse who had the biggest saddle.
Marker.
Gianna! Oh, it's not what it looks like.
This one time at band camp, I was supposed to go to this party, but it wasn't really a party, and I was the only one there.
One more time.
Worldwide recognition. Shortly before its premiere, Universal Studios sold the international distribution rights for American Pie for approximately $4.5 million, recouping nearly half of its $11 million budget before the movie even hit theaters. Interestingly, screenwriter Adam Hertz was almost spot on in estimating the budget, predicting $10 million. At the time, many media outlets predicted significant box office success for American Pie.
We will fight for every man out there who isn't getting laid and should be. This is our day. This is our time. And by God, we will not stand by and watch history condemn us into celibacy.
As it had already impressed audiences during test screenings. Analysts also anticipated that the movie might break the trend of American teen comedies underperforming outside the US markets. The studio deliberately avoided a PG-13 rating, which would have allowed viewers age 13 and up, in favor of an R rating to stand out among more restrained youth comedies. The film premiered on July 9, 1999, opening in 2,508 theaters across the US and Canada. It grossed $18.7 million in its opening weekend and earned $102.5 million domestically over a 25-week theatrical run. Internationally, the film brought in an additional $132.9 million, with its greatest success in Germany, where it grossed $33.5 million and became the highest-grossing movie of the year. With a worldwide total of $235.5 million, American Pie ranked as the 12th highest-grossing film of 1999. Jason Biggs earned $1 million for his role, while Sean William Scott, for whom American Pie was his first feature film, was paid a mere $8,000. Scott later lamented the disparity, recalling that he could only afford a used car with his earnings. While audiences adored the film, critics gave it mixed reviews. Some praised its humor, memorable characters, and relatability, while others criticized its crude, tasteless elements and accused it of promoting vulgarity. Years later, modern critics pointed out the film's problematic elements, such as sexist remarks, and the scene where Nadia is filmed without her consent. Chris Weitz admitted that scenes like these would be unthinkable in today's youth films, but were seen as harmless jokes at the time. American Pie received nominations for numerous awards. At the MTV Movie Awards, it was nominated for Best Movie, Best Comedic Performance, Jason Biggs, and Breakthrough Performance, both Biggs and Shannon Elizabeth. It also earned multiple Teen Choice Award nominations, with the infamous pie scene being recognized in the Best Chemistry category. The Casting Society of America honored the film with an award for Best Casting in a Feature Film, while the Young Hollywood Awards celebrated it as Best Ensemble Cast, with a Breakthrough of the Year win for Mina Suvari, who would also star in American Beauty just months later. The success of American Pie inspired Universal to greenlight a sequel. Released in 2001, American Pie 2 reunited the original cast and focused on the characters' post-college summer adventures. The sequel outperformed the first film commercially, leading to a third installment. American Wedding 2003 centered on Jim and Michelle's wedding, but excluded Chris Klein, Mina Suvari, Tara Reid, and Natasha Lyonne for reasons unknown. Though less successful, the franchise continued to expand with direct-to-DVD spin-offs under the American Pie Presents label, including Bandcamp 2005, The Naked Mile 2006, Beta House 2007, and The Book of Love 2009. These focused on new characters, but featured recurring appearances from Jim's dad and Stifler's relatives. In 2012, the core cast reunited for American Reunion, continuing the original storyline. This time, Sean William Scott earned $5 million, far surpassing his initial paycheck. The most recent addition to the franchise was the female-led spin-off American Pie Presents Girls Rules 2020, which centered on a group of free-spirited high school seniors. It was the first film in the series not to feature Eugene Levy. The four main films grossed $990 million worldwide.
This is like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
I know.
And with the spin-offs, the American Pie franchise surpassed $1 billion in earnings. Many of the lead actors became mainstream stars overnight, but their fame quickly faded, with few finding lasting success beyond the franchise. The Weitz brothers continued their filmmaking careers and even received an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. Meanwhile, Adam Hertz, after contributing to 2 sequels, founded his own school and dedicated himself to teaching screenwriting. Even after 25 years, the term MILF, introduced by the movie, remains iconic, and Jason Biggs still receives apple pies from fans. One memorable and unfortunate incident occurred when a boy from Idaho attempted to recreate the famous pie scene, only to suffer third-degree burns because he didn't wait for the pie to cool. It's either him or the pie. And the pie won. American Pie became a cultural touchstone for a generation of teens. As one of the most scandalous yet successful youth comedies, it also marked the genre's peak. Subsequent films about awkward, hormone-fueled teens failed to match its impact. Do you think American Pie remains a genuinely funny comedy, or has its time passed?